for me when I was building this. You know, when I was given the chance to do sustainable cities, I had to think of a few topics that would do it justice. And in my job, we talk about energy, waste and water all the time. So that was kind of easy, really. And then, of course, you get the policy, and then you get all the other things. And anyone that knows me knows I'm a big believer in not waiting around for permission, but just getting stuff done. You know, you can activate change from today. You can activate change in anything that you do. It all comes down to the choices that you make. And the reason I wanted this session is because there are amazing, absolutely incredible businesses that I have met on my journey that just blow me away because they're just getting on and doing it. And rather than sit down and scroll the internet, I thought, well, why don't we just do a whistle-stop tour around some of the amazing things that are happening in Brisbane already? Because this is what AlterCOP's all about, right? It's about local, you know, it's about bringing it home, making it relevant to us. And that's just what I wanted to do. So it's quite organic. Nobody knows which order they're in because, quite frankly, by the time I was putting this together, I was just shoving things in. So the way it's going to work is we are going to make our way through. People are going to stand up. They're going to talk about their businesses. They're going to talk about their innovations. They're going to talk about how they make a difference. And they're going to talk about how you can get involved. So that's pretty much the remit of what we're doing today. So the first one I'm going to start off is it's a local business based on the Sunshine Coast. She couldn't make it, unfortunately, but I'm a massive fan of hers, so I really wanted you guys to hear what she has to say.
My name is Simona Paganetto, and I'm the founder of I'm Plastic Free. I'm Plastic Free is a global matchmaking platform for solutions to plastic pollution. In fact, it connects econ and health-conscious individuals, so consumers, to solutions to plastic pollutions. And this can be, for example, products that are waterless and therefore have a lower carbon footprint compared to their single-use plastics, other regenerative and plastic-free materials, as well as solutions on how to reduce your exposure to microplastics. We have written over 100 articles on the platform, and all the claims are linked to studies published in peer-reviewed journals. And people ask me why I do what I do, why I built I'm Plastic Free, and there is a very simple reason to it. It is my children. I want to look into their eyes in 20 years, knowing that I did everything I could to do my little part in solving the plastic pollution crisis. And here I am, very passionate about this cause. Thank you.
Right, next up, we've got Magnus from Day2.
Excellent. Hello, I'm Magnus.
Paganetto, and I'm the founder.
I'm Magnus. Yeah, thanks for having me. So I started a company called Day2 a few years ago, and I did it for a few reasons. One is I'm a big nerd, and I like solving kind of silly problems and coming up with weird mechanical machines and all sorts of different devices. And the second one is that when I started Day2, we couldn't do anything for our clients. So we were an industrial design consultancy, and we had lots of clients who wanted recycled plastic products, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't find any plastic within Australia that was recycled, so the kind of easiest solution was to ship things in from Germany, which I thought was quite silly. So we bought some equipment, started learning all about the different types of plastics, how it could be recycled easily, affordably, and with kind of zero funding from any investors. So We started by making carabiners and plant pots, which was very, very fun, but couldn't make any money at all, and kind of haggling with people to sell a $12 plant pot was just not very fun. And so one thing I realised is that we were recycling plastic bottle caps, and it took ages to sort them out by material and colour. So I started building a machine that uses machine vision to sort those out for us autonomously. And just by happenstance, we had Containers for Change walk through the building, and they saw that machine, and they kind of had a conversation with us and booked a meeting, and then said at that meeting, hey, we have 1 billion bottle caps that we're putting into landfill every year in Queensland, which, yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, that's not great. So is there something you can do with it? And that was preceded by them saying, we have one depot in Toowoomba that's got 30 tonnes of bottle caps just sitting there for the last 7 years that needs to be recycled. Do you guys think you can do it? I went, no, absolutely not. That is ridiculous. But then we started working on it a bit more, looking into the problem, and we found kind of about 4 to 5 billion bottle caps per year in Australia are going into landfill, or they're going through the deposit scheme and getting mixed in with the other types of plastics and getting downcycled. So also worried about seeing all the tethered bottle caps that are happening in Europe, which just means we're blending more and more plastic together, which makes it lower quality. So we've been developing the lid sorter, and we've changed to making panels, and we can make different sort of things with those panels, like this cabinet unit that we installed last month at a building here in the city, which was pretty cool, handing out a reusable coffee cup system called Circle. All sorts of different products for different businesses who are more eco-conscious. And because we have a short amount of time, I'll just skip to the other thing we do. So we realised that we were tackling the environmental side of things pretty well. And we've got a big network of people who send us bottle caps from all over Queensland. Whether we like that or not, we get sent bottle caps from Cairns Correctional Facility all the way down to the Gold Coast. So, I don't know, as soon as they get our address, you can't really stop people from sending you stuff. Which, you know, we think that's a bit crazy with the logistics. But the other thing we wanted to look at was the social aspect. How do you make recycling cool and sexy? So we started this thing called Rubbish Club. And some of those numbers are a bit old now, but we have had lots and lots of young people join under the guise of meeting new people in Brisbane. We get lots of immigrants together as well, specifically. We have, selfishly, I was like, oh, I want to meet more male friends. We pretty much only have women, which is really interesting. So if anyone's got any feedback on how we get more men involved, that would be fantastic. And we've just gone around to a new cafe every week, and we've just talked to the cafe owners and kind of haggled to see if we can get any discounts on coffee, which is, it feels like I'm selling plant pots again. It's not fun. But we've done a pretty good job of cleaning the streets, and, you know, picked up various articles and stuff around the place, which has been fantastic. But more importantly, we've actually got real friendships starting to form, which is a really, really cool part of the program, where people will come with us and do this very strange thing that we do every week, and actually form friendships. So that's me, that's by design.
Here's the lucky, I feel like I'm spinning a wheel of who it's going to be. If you don't recognise Ben, she's been on every single young one of the videos that we've held throughout the day, so you should be recognised by incognito, but you've got 2 slides on there, so you can put it forward.
All right, so have you ever thought about how many people in your community have amazing skills, knowledge, or insights that you wished you would have as well?
Yeah.
And have you at the same time once thought about how many people in your community are super eager to do something, create a change, make an impact, but do not know how? Amazing. Have you ever thought, wouldn't it be great if there would be a third space where these people could come together and share, help each other out, teach each other, learn from each other, and actually be able to make the change? Amazing, because that's exactly what we
That one. There you go.
All right, way better. So, once again, this is what Carmen Buzz and myself created 4 years ago. We saw in our community a lot of people who were keen to take action, but didn't know how, and we saw a lot of people who had amazing insights, knowledge, and skills, and they would be good to share that actually with the other group. So what we do is, with Upskilling Sustainability, every month we pick a topic, we find someone in our community, we know something about it, can share something about it, and we invite everybody else to come along. And sometimes we just are like having a conversation inside, but mostly we go outside. We go into the bush, to the lake, because we are at the Sunshine Coast, and so we learn hands-on what we actually can do. And so what you can do is this. You can join us, but you also can create this in your own community. It doesn't require anything except for take the time to listen what your community wants, what they know, and how they might make a difference, and bring people together. It's so simple, and the nice thing is, it's so inspiring and motivational because we want to make change, but it's so much nicer if you do it together, and it's so much nicer if you know how to do it. So that is Upskilling Sustainability Initiative.
Right, lucky number 3.
Hi, I'm Mitch from Space for Cycling Brisbane, and Sarah did this fantastic graphic for me, and this is the first time I've seen it, and it's very impressive. Thanks, Sarah. It makes us look really professional. So Space for Cycling Brisbane is a coalition of community groups for cycling advocates, and our vision for Brisbane is for everyone to be able to get around safely, easily by bicycle, regardless of your level of age, fitness or ability. So, and we try to do this by engaging with local politicians and the government. And I've heard 3 times during this session that transport emissions are Australia's 3rd biggest emission, global greenhouse emissions, and road transport is a major part of that, and personal cars are a major part of that. So switching from cars to bikes is a way you can make a big difference in emissions. It's also good for you. When you cycle, it's good for your health. So transport emissions are one aspect, and health is another aspect. When you do move people from cars to bikes, you also get other benefits. You get more space you can use. It used to be car parking. You can plant trees where the car parks used to be. You get more porous surfaces. It's a win. The health benefits, well, our Doctors for the Environment people, if they're still here, could tell us about that. Mental health, health for your community, all these sorts of benefits from switching people from cars to bikes. So most bicycle infrastructure is pretty cheap to build. It's a lot cheaper than car infrastructure. So it's a no-brainer. So why wouldn't governments get onto the bandwagon of cycling? Brisbane City Council spends $1 billion every year, that's a billion with a B, on road infrastructure, that's repairing potholes, fixing up intersections, putting new traffic lights in. And cycling infrastructure is so much cheaper. They could save so much money if they moved a few people from cars to bicycles. But the reason they don't is because they perceive not too many people cycle. And sure enough, in Brisbane, our cycling mode share is 1.2%, which means only 1.2% of trips are made by bicycle. You compare that to Europe, and they've got about, maybe 12% trips by bicycle. And then in the Netherlands, of course, everyone knows, a lot of people there cycle, and they've got about 28% of all trips by bicycle. If everyone cycled 28% of all their trips by bicycle, the greenhouse gas savings would be 686 million tonnes of carbon emissions. That's about the total emissions from the UK. So if we could move everybody from 28% of trips onto bikes, we could save a massive amount of carbon emissions. And the good news is, half of Australian households have at least one bicycle. I know I've got more than one bicycle in my household. Anyone here got a bicycle in their household? Yeah. Oh, you're better than the Australian average. And it's sunny and warm in Brisbane. Brisbane's a great place to cycle. So if you want to get out and about, you're never going to have a bike lane full of snow here, guaranteed. It's fantastic. And people want to ride a bike. And cycling has risen in the last year. 10% more people cycled this year than cycled last year. So it's on. There's the good news. And people say they want to cycle more. Whenever we do a survey, people say, yes, I want to cycle to work. The reason that stops them is they're frightened of being hit by a car. And no matter how much money they're going to save, no matter how good it is for their health, no matter how good it is for the environment, people aren't going to cycle if they think they're going to get killed doing it. So the trick for us is to try and get politicians to invest in cycle infrastructure. So we run lots of events, we talk to politicians, we try to engage with the community to make cycling popular, so politicians see that it's popular. We take politicians on bike rides. They're particularly agreeable close to elections when they're trying to campaign. So we try to make change at a local level. We've done some pop-up bike lanes, we've had the big bike lanes, we've met with the Lord Mayor, with premiers, with ministers, all to try and show them that there is constituencies for cycling. There's people like me who cycle anyway, but there's lots of their constituents, people who would cycle if it was safe enough, and they'd love to be able to do that. So if I can leave you with two quotes, one from the suffragettes. Suffragettes determined that cycling was a political act. And the second quote is, history is made by those who turn up. And that was a UK Prime Minister. So if I can ask you to go and see your local politician and ask them to make cycling better in your area, turn up and turn up on your bicycle. It's a political act. Thank you.
Right. Those of you who were at the transport panel today, this is the other half of Halo, and I'm super excited to hear all about it because Santiago made mention of it quite a few times, so great. I'm not sure how many things, it's a bit of a lucky day. Just press that one, and you do need to be relatively pointy.
Okay. So in 2018, my co-founder's day started like any other. He was a uni student. He was going to become the first blind electrical engineer in Australia and needed to get to uni. So he went down to the bus stop, stood at the curb with his guide dog, held up the bus number, as he's supposed to do, wore his high-vis vest, and he'd even called up the bus company the day before to let the driver know to look out for him. And guess what? Bus went straight past. So did the next two. Because he couldn't see it to hail it. When he first mentioned to me that he had trouble catching public transport, I'm like, I get you can't drive, but surely you can catch public transport. And I started to realise that people with a disability have a massive problem catching public transport. People in wheelchairs are often left stuck on trains because they need the station attendant to see them to know to roll out the ramp. So they often have to get off 2 or 3 stops later. And the more I speak to people, there are a number of reasons why people won't or don't use public transport. And look, I'm all for cycling. I love cycling. But we do share one thing in common. We want to try and get people out of their private vehicles and start using public transport or cycles to get where they want to go. Now, this isn't the bus driver's fault. Can you imagine driving a 30-tonne truck through CBD streets looking out for one person standing on the side that's holding a number up for you? It's a pretty tough job. And yet we have so much money being spent on roads, on public transport, but we're missing something. We're missing the part that looks after the traveller. So when my co-founder said he wanted to solve this problem, he wanted to be able to catch public transport as his form of travel, I said that problem's not big enough. You need to think bigger than that. Because I've come from the sustainability background. My last 20 years was looking at sustainable buildings and how do we reduce greenhouse gas emissions, improve indoor environment quality. And he said, yeah, but how do we do that? Do other people have problems catching public transport? Well, decades ago, I was a man with a pram. Has anyone tried to use a pram and public transport at the same time? How easy is it? Or has anyone used crutches and tried to use public transport and had a bus take off before you found your seat? My 23-year-old daughter refuses to use public transport because she doesn't feel safe at night. So we said, well, we can create a solution to that. One by one, we can start addressing the reasons that people won't or don't use public transport. And in time, we'll even be able to look after little Johnny walking down in a rural area, 2-kilometre long driveway, and he sees the bus go past. He'll now be able to alert the bus driver he's running 5 minutes late to wait for him at the end. So here I was thinking this was a social issue and an environmental issue because not enough people use public transport. But trying to convince people to do something about it doesn't happen easily, until I show them the money. Remember that Tom Cruise film, Show Me the Money? Well, we had a look across Australia and we realised the NDIS was spending $700 million on accessible transport, and then each state in Australia was also spending money on the taxi subsidy scheme. So the figure up here, 43 million, is what is spent every year by the New South Wales government to pay half the costs of taxis for people with a significant disability. Sounds fantastic, right? Well, the reality is, I've stood next to Santiago when he's been waiting for a taxi or an Uber, and the number of them that cancel the moment they see he's got a guide dog. So he was almost late today because he had trouble getting here. When you speak to people with disability, they often have to spend days in advance planning their trip. So we looked at this $43 million and said, well, that's just the cost that we're paying. It's not looking at the reduced opportunities, or reduced employment opportunities, people living smaller lives because they're confined to their home. This is a big problem. This is something that's worth solving. So how do we do it? Santi, being the electrical engineer, decided that we needed an app. And I know, yep, another transport app. There are far too many of them, and all of us have tried that time where we're using an app and it tells you about the next buses in 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 15 minutes. Anyone had one of those, Paul, when no buses go past? Phantom buses. Just about every public transport we've looked at has got 4 or 5 bits of technology on it reporting where they are. And none of it is being conveyed to the travellers. So we've developed something to start looking after the people travelling. So we work out which one's doing best, and we now have the bus correct within 3 seconds. So we know where the buses are, which is a pretty good start. And this all works by, he uses a text-to-voice approach, but it starts by selecting the phone, and like any travel app, you can do your journey planning, you find your route, and you push the hail button. Pretty simple. The difference is here, I'm just going to stand over here. The difference is this time there's communication goes from your phone to the cloud to the vehicle, and it stays on the vehicle until that vehicle is approaching your bus stop. And then the driver is alerted that how many people want to get on, what sort of support they need, whether they need the suspension lowered, the ramps deployed, etc. But that isn't where it stops. That's just where we're up to right now. The next step is developing the roadmap so that we can interface with it. When someone pushes a duress alarm, you can interface with the CCTV, they can monitor with the security station and have appropriate precautions made at the next stop. Because I want to get more people using public transport, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, reduce congestion on the road, and overall get people out and about and socialising. I'm not learning. So we started to look at who's going to pay for this, because we don't want the traveller to pay for it. There are enough reasons not to catch public transport. So we said, well, it could either be the government, because they've actually got obligations to make sure public transport is accessible. It isn't yet, but they've got standards and they have to. So maybe we can convince them there. Or maybe it's the bus computer systems, the telematic systems, where they want to differentiate themselves from the competitors. Or it could even be the operators that are wanting to get more people on seats to try and improve their revenue. So all three are potential customers. But let's go back to the government. New South Wales are spending $43 million. If we can just get 10% of that reduction, that saves them $4.3 million. It also saves my friend Santi's daily costs, $40 to leave home every day. They can save $4.3 million in a year. And that's if we just reduce it by 10%. And the rest of society still gets a benefit. So we're in a pretty exciting position now. We're launching in Melbourne for January next year. We've got a massive team behind us, and we're all set to light the afterburners and get going. So if anyone's interested in taking a trip to Melbourne and trying it on 700 buses down there, soon to be Skybus, soon to be Yarra Trams, we'd love to see you down there. Thank you.
Trey. I didn't know his name before, but now I know who he is, Trey. Okay, we have the UN aides come up here. You've seen them all day, but here they are live in person.
Come on. I think we can do one-on-one. Okay, well, does this work? Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Fiorenza. I'm the president of the United Nations Association of Australia Young Professionals Queensland. And I'm joined on stage tonight by two of our lovely and incredible team members. Kieran, our Queensland Vice President, and Finn, our committee member and sustainability expert. But not only are we up here on stage tonight, many young professionals are here today. Some of our committee team members are also part of the audience tonight. We've got Nancy, we've got Lily, we've got Milena, we've got Lucia. So thank you for answering the call and being here tonight, all of you. And it's not only us as a committee, but it's us as a young professionals network, and really who we are and what we do. I hope I'm pressing the right button.
I'll just press it from here. Just point at me.
We are just all really united by a common goal and a common mission to really just inform, engage, and inspire young professionals. And by young professionals, we mean early career, we mean mid-level career professionals all over Brisbane, actually all over Queensland, because we're expanding our network all the way from Sunshine Coast to Gold Coast. But really to just inform, inspire, and engage young professionals. And the reason why we do it, the why behind every event, every one of the 18 plus events we ran this year, is because the conversations that we've heard today, the conversations that we're hearing all week, the conversations happening at COP30, those are conversations about our future. And that's the future where we are going to be building our lives, building our families, growing our businesses, and making decisions and being leaders for tomorrow. And how we will be leaders tomorrow really starts from today. Sharon mentioned earlier on today that it's about having the right people in the right decision-making spots, in the right decision-making rooms, and that's exactly where we want to start. If we don't start today, if we don't start by inspiring young professionals on the principles of international organizations, of cooperation, of peacemaking, of what it is to lead, to be leaders, and to build businesses that are aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, then tomorrow won't have that kind of generation mindset, that behavior change that we need to get there. So this is why we do it, and how we do it is through a whole range of events. If there's a type of event that we could do, whether it's a pub quiz, whether it's a soccer game, whether it's a panel event, an expert event, we are the ones running them all over town, but Finn will walk us through what these events are like. And by the way, you'll see there's QR codes here in the presentation. Feel free, as we go through all of the slides, to have a look, point your phone, and you'll find all of our social media and our upcoming events as well.
All right, so to achieve our mission effectively, we work around the SDGs. So all the events that we organize, although they're all different, they all are there to achieve particular SDGs. And so as you can see in our invites, we always mention what SDG they are contributing to, but as you know, they're all interconnected as well. So when we are talking about sustainable cities and communities like we did today, we're talking about environmental sustainability first, and therefore we organize these events. And so what we did, for example, was we organized a workshop around the specific SDG, SDG 13 climate action, and we were with a professional designer who helped us design a solution to address misinformation that undermines climate action. But then also, we contributed to the global conversation by contributing to the global ethical stocktake in another workshop, where we with our team brainstormed about what does it actually mean, what are the values that are lacking, and therefore the lacking progress at the COP in Berlin. So this global ethical stocktake was our contribution, went there, and is now part of the bigger conversation. So it's nice to see how we can do things locally, but also contribute to the global level. And something that we're really proud of that we worked on this year in terms of sustainability is in collaboration with Sarah and with Alex from People Planet Pint, and it's around corporate social responsibility. So we organized 4 seminars. Well, the 4th is coming, and you definitely should join one of the QR codes, pick out which ones. So we did 3 already. And they're all about corporate social responsibility. Now, this is important for you to understand. You don't have to be a sustainability manager to contribute to the sustainability of your organization. And that's where these seminars are about. We bring together people like yourselves in the room, and always experts will bring a different angle towards the same topic. So we've talked about circular economy, fast fashion, climate action in general, and the next one will be about sustainable food choices in agriculture. So they're very wide, but they're all about you. You do never, ever have to be an expert to be in our room. It's about sharing knowledge and making sure that we all can take action. And so the next, but this is like environmental sustainability, but as you know, that is so related to social and economic sustainability. And so that's why a lot of our events are not only about the environmental aspects, but they're really about creating sustainable communities, like flourishing communities. And that is looking at those other SDGs, like SDG 16, which is about peace and justice, and SDG 17, which is about partnerships. So one of the really proud events we did this year was the Peace Cup. You know how the UN is very much about, like, let's create peace and care for refugees. Like, we actually walked the talk by organizing a tournament, bringing refugees from whole communities together and play a game together, which is peace building from the bottom up. And so it's that kind of events that really matter, as well as our events around equity, diversity, and just social networking. Let's just sit together, let's talk to each other and connect, because eventually it's all together that we create the change we want. And that is what the United Nations is about and what we are about.
Thanks, Finn. So a quick overview. So this is probably about half of our team now. So in the last year or so, we've grown a lot. We go to the next one. We have a lot of key partnerships. So a great reason to come along is meeting people who are working in the industry, who are experts in their field, like-minded individuals from a range of organizations. Yeah, and these are some of our upcoming events. I think Fien really touched on it all. It's that you don't have to come to an event that is in your particular domain or something that you know about. There are events that are tailored towards just your individual choices you can make in your life. I'll just call out one before Sarah tells me to get off stage. But we did one on fast fashion, which is something that obviously impacts us all. We all have clothes. And just being conscious and making important decisions in your life around being more sustainable and applying the UN SDGs to your life. Also, we have a pretty good team. We're friends. So if you want to make more friends as well with that sort of same mindset, I think that's another great reason to get involved. Thanks.
Thank you. Right, our next lucky contestant. Now, poor Cooper, I made him cut down his slides severely yesterday, so he has been working very hard to get all of this in, and I know he slightly hates me.
It's a massive improvement. Thank you. So hi, I'm Cooper. A little bit about me. About the last 20 years, I've been on a personal mission to figure out my little puzzle piece in the climate change problem. This has taken me on a very, very winding journey to this project. I've gone through architecture, I discovered meditation, I thought I wanted to be a meditation researcher and understand consciousness. That took me to study psychology, then did a PhD in neuroscience. I then had my heart absolutely broken by the academic system and realised that it needs a complete overhaul. I joined the open science movement, realised that we've been battling this fight for 30 years and unfortunately the big publishers are still in control. And so I started dreaming up, the former designer in me started dreaming up solutions to this really complex collective action problem that we have. And I started trying to get those ideas going in academia before I realised that academia is actually not a safe space to prototype new ideas, and ironically not a safe space to experiment, as you would think it would be. And so then after my PhD, I left academia to found this project, which is called Open Heart and Mind. And we have been testing these new radical models in the safe space of community gatherings. And double flick. So this is our mission. So we are aiming to create an open evaluation system that can quantify the relative value of literally any contribution towards a shared mission. Because if we can do this, we can figure out the percentage of value that people are creating. Yeah, I know it's very bright. Sorry, I don't know if you can turn that down. But we can reward people directly for the value that they're creating and empower them to keep on giving to their communities. Now, there's a problem here because if we're going to evaluate contributions, those evaluations might be of greater or lesser quality, and we also need to encourage people to do evaluations. But if you start evaluating evaluations, then somebody needs to evaluate the evaluations of the evaluations, and it's turtles all the way down. So any system we develop needs to be self-referential in some way. And critically, if that system is really flexible and it can recognize the value of improvements to the system itself, we have the beginnings of what's called a virtuous cycle. And this is the idea that contributions can improve the system. That is then improving the valuation process, which means that everything just keeps getting better and better over time because we get better at valuing things. And so for the last 3 years or so, we've been hosting community gatherings which are based on Burning Man principles. So basically people come along, they gift their contributions. We run experiments where we ask people weird questions like, how much do you think this contribution is worth? And through those experiments, we've developed a mechanism that we believe has the potential to kickstart a new kind of economy, a new kind of gifting economy. And so it's very, very simple, and it's designed to be super accessible and inclusive. We basically just ask somebody to compare 2 contributions on some dimension of interest, like which do you value more. This is commonly known as a pairwise comparison. The interesting thing we do is on the right. So that's where we then take this process and we apply it to itself. So now we're valuing these evaluations, and in this example, you're asking somebody to compare a contribution, say a piece of code that they wrote, against some number of these evaluations, let's say 100. So I'm asking you to imagine doing 100 of these evaluations and now compare that to the value of this regular contribution. And critically, if we reward each of these processes with one standard unit, we can peg the entire system in those units where every single contribution can be valued through these very, very simple processes and a tiny little bit of math that I won't have time to show you. Thank you. And so that mechanism is then the seed which can grow into a new circular economy. And so the way that works is that you co-create with your community, you record the contributions that people have done, you do reviews like I've just described. That then gives these automated, I can show you the math. This is the math. It's just fitting a very simple function and it will improve over time, but basically it lets you normalize against the value of these valuations and generate scores where every single contribution is given in terms where each point is equivalent to the value of one of these simple evaluations. From there, you can do all sorts of wonderful things because you now know what things are worth, so you can then start to reward people based on the value they've created towards your project, and you can empower them to keep on giving and adding value. And from there, of course, if you're tracking value over time, you can develop really interesting, rich profiles of the ways that people are contributing, their expertise, their reliability, and so on, and use that to then create autonomous governance systems. So this process is what we've been prototyping with different communities around the world. We've now validated that this can apply to basically any community with any type of contribution. We've validated it across the arts, the sciences, tech spaces, not-for-profit sectors. And what I'm showing here is some of our real data that we've gathered with our spreadsheet prototypes. And what it does effectively is puts all these contributions in a new multi-dimensional value space. And what's really cool is if these communities share the same values, like here all of our communities prototyped with gratitude, what it means is that those communities can now start to coordinate value along those lines that they share values on. And if their missions are sufficiently aligned, they can also start walking in the same direction, recognize the contributions that each of them make towards that common direction so that they can work together and coordinate more effectively. And so the really exciting thing is that this year we've achieved a big milestone. We've now got our own app. It's still a prototype. It's still very rough. We're not funded. Nobody wants to fund this kind of work, not surprisingly. But we're now using it to run our next gathering. And so for the last 2 months, we've been receiving offers from the community, whether it be art, science, music, well-being, infrastructure, key roles that people are playing, volunteering, and we've been valuing all these contributions through our system. And we've now invited around 40 people who have given generously in their offerings to the community. And we're now opening it up to complete the final piece of this puzzle, which is money, not surprisingly, but also we still do have some volunteer roles as well. And so the idea is that we'll run this gathering, it's all gift-based, afterwards we'll use the system again, and this is where we're going to test the next stage, which we haven't been able to test, which is reward. Because we do have a little bit of money in our charity, and so if we don't raise surplus funds, that's the goal, but if we don't, we'll take a little bit of our money and we'll use that as a test case for the idea that through these metrics, we can automatically reward people for the value they're creating and then empower them to keep on giving to their community. And so this is happening in a week and a half, and there's a QR code you can scan to find out more. Thank you very much.
Next, Leanne. So you would have seen Leanne in the breakout room, but here she is to tell us all about what they do.
Okay, so I am Leanne. I'm one of the mums who started, I helped a couple of the mums who started Parents for Climate. So we are parents. We have grown from 6 mums spread around Australia on our kitchen tables with Zoom before COVID. And we're now over 26,000 parents around Australia. We have 30 local groups or more. We are hoping to grow the movement in Brisbane, sort of thing. So the QR code over here, we have a short survey so that we can figure out what Brisbane parents want to do, sort of thing. We have groups in Sydney, like some parents organise like toy swaps and clothes swaps a few times a year. That helps with cost of living, helps with saving waste, stops stuff going to landfill. We are starting a new campaign for Clean Air for Kids. This will work with Doctors for the Environment. We have a petition, of course, so please use your phone, fill that in for us. But basically, 1 in 6 schools, childcares in Australia, are on really busy roads and stuff. Kids are breathing in pollution. We need to make the world safe for kids. Clean air is a human right. It's a children's right. So basically, we're doing this. I'm not used to standing up talking to people. I spend my life on Zoom. I live in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, that's it. I was thinking, do I sit behind the table or something, I'll feel a bit better. I've also started knitting Nana's Blonde Loop out home. I set up the street knitting for a couple of years with the locals saying, what on earth are you doing? And I'm like, well, gas is coming to town. So it is I don't know, I'm not sure the people in the city understand too much about that over the range. They've drilled right through people's farms and through the underground water, which is very important for our food. So I'm very happy that Parents for Climate are also trying to talk to politicians about ending the fossil fuels and stuff, the things that we need to do. What else are we doing? I didn't write anything down. I talk to people about this all the time. So yeah. So in the room we have some more QR codes. So just not too many up on here, please. So but there will be a get-together on Sunday, I think it is, here in Brisbane at the Maruka Clubhouse between 1:30 and 5. If people would like to go along. How many parents have we got here? Put your hand up if you're parents. Yeah, see, loads and loads of people. And we find there's always something that you can do, sort of thing. So we have parents may be very busy, but you could always sign our petitions, share our petitions, sort of things like that. I would really appreciate some help with social media, like send me any content, especially expert points that would explain things really easily to other parents, sort of thing, is a really good way to help. We have, now I'm thinking. So basically, what we've been helping parents to do is we've been having training sessions, how to write letters to the editor that are going to get printed in the papers and stuff. I think we all love our kids and they're the most important things in the world. And so you really do anything, like even get up and talk in front of people. I've given up on, how far out of your comfort zone you get. But I think that's one of the best things that I really like is that I see a lot of the difference that I've made is actually encouraging other people to do stuff. And, they've actually got on the phone and rang up to the Environment Minister's office and stuff. And it's like just that first step. And that's really scary for people, sort of thing. So it's really good to be able to do things like that. So, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're down to our last two. So, is that supposed to look like that? Hold on. You may just have to wing it, and we'll send you the slides afterwards. Hopefully your video will work.
Yeah, hopefully.
At the end.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Caitlin, and I'm really proud to be one of the 10 million volunteers of Buddhist Tzu Chi Foundation worldwide. So the picture in the middle is supposed to be the logo of the foundation, but I have it on my shirt here, so just in case. But does anyone speak any language other than English here? And could you keep your hands up if you speak Chinese? Okay, so the Chinese friends back there, they're actually from this foundation. As you can see the words here, it's 慈济, so it means compassion and relief in Chinese. And so if you are compassionate, which I think you are because you are here at AlterCOP and you care for the environment, and I can just kind of assume you are, you resonate with the missions of our organization. Oops. Okay, I guess you have to do a lot more imaginations here. So this picture here was supposed to be the founder of this organization, Master Cheng Yan. So she was in the picture in the middle, supposed to be the BBC 100 Most Inspiring Women in 2022. So it's an organization, it's a grassroots one especially. It's an international UN accredited organization because we have a United Nations, United Nations special consultative status with the Economic and Social Council. So, and it was founded back in 1966, where Master Cheng Yan with 30 housewives, they just save a couple cents from their grocery money, and they just started helping the families in need locally in Taiwan. And now this organization has more than 10 million volunteers and have a few hundred chapters in 68 countries and provided aid in over 136 countries. So we have, so the picture on the right is the 6 locations we have in Australia. So Brisbane, Gold Coast, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, and Adelaide. Right, I think. All right, testing more of my memory. So the 4 missions and 8 footprints of this foundation is we have charity, medicine, education, thank you, humanistic culture, international relief, so it's disaster relief, and I think it also has one of the largest bone marrow donor registry in Asia, and that is environmental protection, thank you. environmental protection and community volunteerism. So all of this work, thank you. All of this work rely a lot on all the efforts from the millions of volunteers we have, including myself and everyone and my friends out there. And yeah, okay. So I think, all right, I think it's, if you look up Tsuji Brisbane, you will find our website. So this was supposed to be our achievement locally. So we do, we provide, so other than the 8 footprints that I just mentioned, so locally in Brisbane, we have a community center in Salisbury, and we provide regular food parcel distribution and refugee support for the parents and children. If they need any emergency fund, we will also provide that. And we do annual, there is a rural town called Tara, and also the refugee communities in Toowoomba. We do medical and dental services annually for them, and it's trying to bridge the gap between the medical, that's not the dental service that's not sometimes not covered by Medicare. Yeah, and we also it's a little bit tricky for me, but from memory, I think. Yeah, so yes, I remember that now. It's so Tsuji Brisbane started in 1990. So we have been volunteering locally, and thanks to my brain. So we signed an official memorandum of understanding with Brisbane City Council, and it's the agreement between the council and us to provide support during disaster times. So the difficult times where we need evacuation centers. So our community center can be turned into an evacuation center, and especially during 2011 and 2022 floods, we partner with the city council, and we provide. I was part of the I was involved in the disaster relief in 2022, and we were helping setting up the beds. It's a portable bed. You can go to our store. We have a showcase of how the bed looks like. It's a portable one, and it's made up with recycled plastic bottles. And it's quite durable. I think it can hold people, I think more than 100 kilograms or more. I can't remember. But yeah, so other than that, we also provide financial support and ongoing support for the families in need. Yeah, so a really big emphasis on how we do our charity work is long-term support. So we make sure the communities are fully back on their feet before we kind of let go. And yeah, so these are all from the experience and the wisdom from Master Cheng Yen, because she found out if we don't do the long-term ongoing care, it's quite uncertain that they might, when you think they might be good after you provide the help, but they might have some unexpected urgency that will just let them go back to the hardship again. So, so a long-term care is like a really main focus of our organization. And
hey, Brizzy! Ready to taste the change? This Thursday we'll be making onigiri and burritos from our tinshu rice. Sustainable never tasted so good.
And for something sweet, we're shaking up chocolate drink made with ginseng marjoram powder, creamy, wholesome, and good for the planet.
Join us this Thursday, the 20th of November, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Prison's Fortitude Valley.
Live demos, food tasting, and real climate actions. Limited spots. Grab your tickets now.
See you there!
another thing that we also focus on is the promoting veganism or vegetarianism. So I'm really grateful that AlterCOP is fully vegetarian here. So yeah, if you would like to learn more about plant-based eating, and my friend in the video, she is actually a dietitian, so she can tell you it can be really nutritious and healthy, and also good for the planet being a vegan or vegetarian. So yeah, thank you everyone.
Okay, everyone, we've got the last but not least. We have Alex.
How many slides have you got? Just 3, is it?
2.
Oh, 2, okay, it's fine. Hi everyone, I'm glad my slides work, otherwise I'd just make up what was going on the photos. My name is Alex. I'm one of the co-hosts of People Planet Pint, along with my lovely co-host Sarah. Just to tell you about People Planet Pint, I came to Brisbane, I moved to Australia actually 2 years ago, and back in the UK I worked in sustainability. I was running a company called Zero Waste Mindset, and I'm sure everyone in the room can maybe relate to this, but I think working in sustainability at times can be quite a lonely place. I remember when I first started my journey in the zero waste movement, trying to be zero waste, a lot of people would say, why are you bothering? And I felt like I was in a kind of silo on my own, doing a lot of things. And when I came to Brisbane, I was in another silo, I just didn't know anybody. So I had a friend back in the UK who'd started People Planet Pint. And the ethos of People Planet Pint is literally, as the name suggests, we just come together in a pub, or sometimes not a pub even, just to have a drink, and we're just literally there to talk and share anything we want to about sustainability. There's no presentations, there's no kind of speeches, it's literally just networking. So when I moved to Brisbane, I didn't know anyone, so he said, do you want to start one of these in Brisbane? I said, I'd love to. And at the same time, there was a lady in Melbourne, lady in Sydney, who also contacted him about running one in those cities too. So coincidentally, we all started Australia at the same time, which was great. So then over time, just through reaching out on LinkedIn, putting it on Eventbrite, people started to come along. I met Sarah, which is fantastic. And it's really interesting the community we have come to the events, because we just get everything from heads of sustainability at major corporations, we get students, we get consultants, but a lot of the themes we find when people come along is just they feel lonely. They're like, we have, the best example is the head of sustainability for Queensland Police, Zane, comes along. Great. Zane, Queensland Police, look how big an organisation it is. He's the only sustainability person who works in the organisation. He's got a massive job, and I think it's a common theme. People come along because they literally are struggling every day to make change in their organisations. They come along and meet other fellow supporters, friends. I bumped into Arjun tonight. Arjun has been to our events, and he actually got a job through connecting with members of our community, which is great. And we have, all sorts of people coming along to our events. And then thankfully, we've also partnered with some wonderful other organisations like the United Nations Australian Association Young Professionals arm. So we do joint events with them. We've done a litter pick event. So it's really grown, and the community start, really evolving as well. So I think we've got our next event coming up. There we go. On Thursday 27th, there's actually another joint event with the UNAA. So you're very welcome to come along, and hopefully see you there. Thanks.
Well, that certainly concludes a very big day. Thank you to everyone. I was wondering if I could have all the volunteers in here, please, because I think they need a big round of applause. All the volunteers. We could not have done it without them. The beautiful Audrey, who is pretty much one of the brainchilds behind all this. I mean, I say the brainchild, I'm actually, slightly hating her after all the work that she's made me do. But she is an absolute powerhouse, this woman. And if you take away anything from this, please look up People for Nature. They are doing awesome things. You can see by this how powerful they are. And thank you to Seb. I don't think I have ever had an event where I feel so comfortable, and this isn't even his day job. So please join us all for refreshments, a chat, a debrief, and a very big glass of wine for some of us. And kick on again tomorrow for biodiversity. And then on Thursday, we've got Connie up there. We have a youth day and a health day. So if you haven't checked into those, you still have time to book in. But thank you so much. Stay safe.
Just a quick favor for you all. If you haven't yet, we have created a tree. It's looking a little bit dry, but it's still beautiful. And we've created these little shapes, and we're asking everyone to write a personal pledge, something that you'd like to see, something that you want to commit to, something you'll do. So yeah, just take a minute before you leave and just write your pledge, put it in the tree. We will bring the tree out here for our wrap-up festival on day 4, and I'd like to see it full of people's pledges. Thank you.